The New York Times, the same paper that ran the original piece that detonated Justin Baldoni's reputation, just dropped a brand new article about this case, and I noticed something weird about it. I'm not sure if it was intentional or accidental, but they actually kinda make a case for him. The article came out February 19th and was written by reporter Julia Jacobs. It reads like a serious legal explainer about what actually qualifies as sexual harassment on a movie set. But when you slow down and actually read what they laid out, the claims start looking a lot smaller than the headlines ever did. Let's start with the slow dance scene. This is the clip Blake's side has been waving around for over a year, like it's Exhibit A in a criminal trial. The footage shows Baldoni leaning in, nuzzling, kissing during a romantic bar scene. A scene that exists specifically to show two characters falling in love before the relationship turns dark. You know, the whole point of the movie Blake was so passionate about that she rewrote half of it. Here is what Blake's complaint conveniently left out. Both of them are mic'd up the entire time, and what you actually hear is two people laughing, goofing around, and trading ideas about how to play the scene. Blake tells Justin she thinks it's more romantic if they look like they're talking rather than kissing. At one point, Justin asks if his beard is scratching her. She jokes that she's probably getting spray tan on him. He says it smells good. They both chuckle. That's the predatory whisper Blake described in her legal complaint. Two actors laughing about spray tan, and apparently federal court now runs on giggles and self-tanner fumes. Blake's team took that moment, a casual, laughing-off character exchange between two people clearly comfortable with each other, and wrote it up like he cornered her in a dark hallway. He leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear down her neck. They took a moment where she was literally giggling and turned it into a federal case. The footage is right there for anyone to watch. And the judge seems to understand that gap exists. The Times quotes Judge Lyman asking from the bench whether a director has any ability to improvise within a scene. That is not a hostile question. That is a judge who has seen the footage and is genuinely trying to figure out where creative direction ends and legal liability begins. You do not ask that question if the answer is already obvious. That alone tells you this case is not the slam dunk social media wanted it to be. Now, here is where the article really starts doing Baldoni favors without realizing it: the legal standard. They quote legal experts, explaining that what feels uncomfortable to the public does not automatically meet the legal definition of harassment. Courts require conduct that is severe or pervasive, not awkwardness, not cringe, not hindsight commentary from a press tour 18 months later. Apparently, you still need more than a viral narrative to win a lawsuit. And once you understand that, the list of allegations starts reading very differently. One example the article highlights is the circumcision conversation. And every headline made that sound bizarre, like it came out of nowhere. What the Times leaves buried in context is that they were already talking about Blake's baby and parenting decisions. Circumcision came up within that discussion. Was it oversharing? Maybe. But when you remove the parenting context and drop the word into a paragraph by itself, suddenly it sounds like something else entirely. Context does a lot of heavy lifting in this case. Almost like context is the one guest never invited to Blake's press tour. Same thing with the outfit comments and the so-called sexy language. We are talking about a movie built around intimacy, attraction, abuse, and a romantic dynamic. The environment was already charged by the material itself. Baldoni's team frames it as creative conversation tied to the story they were filming, not commentary aimed at Blake as a woman. And that distinction is not small. It is the difference between an uncomfortable vibe and a federal claim. The Times even references the Friends Writers' Room case, where a California court ruled that sexual discussion inside a sexually themed creative workspace was not considered harassment because it was tied to the project itself. A show built on sexual innuendo produced sexual conversations. Shocking development, film about intimacy contains intimate conversation. Then there is the testimony from the other actresses. Jenny Slate mentioned an outfit comment. Isabella Farah referenced Baldoni saying that was hot after filming a scene meant to portray a young character's first sexual experience. Not a great HR training moment if you strip it from context. But in the context of directing a sensual scene that is literally designed to feel intense, the legal line is not nearly as clear as people online pretend it is. Keep in mind this is the same Jenny Slate who casually discussed tiny Airbnbs being too small to have sex in, and Isabella Ferrer had no problem licking icing off her finger in a promo with Blake. But Justin asking her to lick a spoon while filming a movie was the harassment. And here's the part the article quietly slips in near the end, almost like an afterthought. After Blake raised concerns during the January meeting, Baldoni's team says the behavior stopped and no further complaints were raised while filming continued. She came back the next day and finished the project. That matters, because a workplace that adjusts after feedback does not read like a predatory environment. It reads like a messy production trying to recalibrate. Which brings me to my favorite part of this whole thing. The New York Times clearly intended to write a nuanced explainer. But what they actually produced is a checklist of why this case is harder to prove than the internet thinks. A judge openly questioning creative improvisation. Legal experts saying public perception does not equal legal liability. Allegations that shrink once you put the missing context back in. And a timeline where filming continued after concerns were raised. The paper that helped shape the early narrative just published a piece where their own sources admit the legal bar is higher than the headlines ever suggested. That is not a victory lap for Blake, that is a quiet reality check. And look, none of this means every interaction on that set was perfect. Creative environments get messy, people overshare, actors push boundaries in ways that feel different depending on who tells the story later. But messy is not illegal, and uncomfortable is not automatically harassment no matter how many think pieces try to blur that line. If anything, this article shows how much of this case has been driven by framing. Show the footage without the audio and it looks predatory. Watch it with the audio and it sounds like two people laughing through a scene together. Pull one sentence out of a parenting conversation and it sounds invasive. Put it back in context and it reads like awkward small talk. Same facts, different lens. The footage didn't change, the framing did. And that is why this article accidentally helps Baldoni. Because once you strip away the dramatic framing and look at what is actually alleged, the legal case starts looking a lot thinner than the public narrative ever made it seem. If you want more breakdowns like this, actual filings, actual testimony, not just headlines, stick around. Trial is coming up fast, and this story keeps getting stranger the more documents hit the docket.
That's my opinion!